If you're seeing this message, it's found you for a reason. 18 months ago, I was stood on my balcony looking down at the concrete 16 floors below, preparing to jump. And in that moment, I made a promise to God that if he supported me, I would rebuild myself for those who had lost belief. Today, that person is you. Embrace this, and your life, like mine, could change forever. But first, let me tell you the reason I hit rock bottom. Now, when I was a child, I got incessantly bullied. I have a skin condition called eczema, and it was really bad when I was at school. And all the other kids, they used to bully me. They used to tell me how ugly I was, how I'd never amount to anything in life. And they used to call me Krusty the Clown because my skin was so dry. And this left me with a lot of, mental scars and trauma. And I just wanted to fit into the group. And I carried these insecurities throughout my adult life. And even though I did manage to quit my corporate job and start a business, I still didn't really believe in myself. And then one day, I met this incredible woman, and she believed in me unconditionally. And that belief in me made me feel invincible, to the point where, with not really any experience, I built 2 7-figure companies from scratch, to the point where I was leading teams of 20 people, speaking on stages all around the world, and I documented the entire journey to a LinkedIn audience I grew to over 60,000 people. And I'd set myself this big target of hitting 100k a month in revenue. That was my big goal. And I can still remember the morning clear as day when I found out we'd done that. It was a Friday. It was a beautiful day. I was living in Austin, Texas. The sun was shining, the birds were tweeting outside. I logged on, and on Slack I saw this message from our operations manager. Nigel, you've finally done it. What you've always wanted to do. We've hit 128k this month. You smashed it, man. Congrats. From the outside looking in, I had everything, right? I was CEO of this fast-growing company. I had over 60,000 followers on LinkedIn that read my story. I had the penthouse in Austin with this incredible view. I had a successful network with loads of other entrepreneurs. From the outside looking in, it was all perfect. Yet on the inside, I'd lost this woman. The one person that believed in me. Gone. My identity shattered into 1,000 pieces. Along went all of my belief and strength with it. And I tried to carry on. I tried to show up as this powerful CEO for my team and put a smile on my face. But on the inside, I was crumbling. And it got so bad that I thought of nearly ending everything. And this was that point on the balcony. And in that moment, even though I wouldn't really consider myself a religious person, I was so desperate, I made a prayer to God. I put my hands together and I said, Dear God, show me the light, give me the strength, and please stay with me. And that was my way of saying, if you support me, I'll rebuild myself for people like you who lack self-belief. And what did that mean? That meant for the first time in my life, I had to believe in me. If I believed in me and took actions towards that and rebuilt myself, God would support me. And then in turn, I could use my story to get other people to believe in themselves. And in that moment, I decided I needed to go back to the UK and rebuild my life. Then a sequence of events started to happen that didn't seem like a coincidence at all. And it felt like someone was looking down on me. So the first thing was I bumped into my old childhood friend that I hadn't seen for 10 years. And I opened up to him. I told him about everything. He was the first person I properly opened up to, and he supported me. He was there for me. And as a man, that was really hard for me to do. But to do it with someone I trust was easier, and there was a huge weight lifted from me. Having said that, I was still a mess at the time. So what he suggested we do is we go on a run every single morning. Now, I hate running. So for me, that was the idea of hell. But I needed something. So 5 a.m., the middle of the British winter, 4 to 5 times every single week for 3 to 4 months, together with my childhood friend, we went on that road and we did a 5k. We pushed each other, we supported each other, and we never didn't show up every time. And through that, I stamped out the victim that nearly took my life. And every step, every stride was a declaration to say, I believe in myself. I believe in this mission. And there was one word that we kept, me and my friends, saying to each other: we are undeniable. And little did I know at the time, but that is the name of the brand that I'm building today. It was forged in those moments of pain. And within these months, someone reached out to me on LinkedIn. Now, I built these marketing agencies in the past, and a younger agency wanted my help. So, considering I didn't have a job and obviously I need to keep the money coming in, I decided to work with them on a one-to-one basis. We got great results. And then I had another person reach out to me. And one thing led to another, and I got this big group of case studies. But here's what I found. Even though I thought that I was just doing that for the money, and then in the future I will build this brand around self-belief, what I started to realize was all these entrepreneurs, sure, they needed systems, they needed tactics, they needed strategy, but really, the biggest thing they needed is to believe in themselves. And as soon as I got them to believe in themselves, then everything changed. Their businesses grew so much faster, they were so much happier, and I started to notice that my mission was already coming to fruition. And then, one moment earlier this year, everything came together. So I decided to do a big event in the Dominican Republic. We had some incredible guest speakers, the likes of Lara Acosta and Joe Gannon, who's worked, with Jordan Peterson. They were all flying in, as well as 35 entrepreneurs from around the world. Now, why did these people know about me or trust me enough to fly out to the Dominican Republic? Was because I shared my story online. I shared my comeback, and they connected with my vulnerability. And then when we arrived there in the Dominican Republic, I had this moment. You can imagine it. They've got these paradise beaches like the ones you see on postcards. It was literally like that, but even better. The sun was rising in the background. The water was so clear. We stood there on the sand, everyone with a fresh coconut in hand, as I told people my story and my mission, and the fact that now it was bigger than just me, and I was empowering them. And throughout those 3 days, we connected with each other, we shared our stories, but there was one moment which made me realise that all of this was meant to be. So there was a guy who came up to me, and he asked me if he could have a private word one-to-one, and he looked very emotional. So I asked him, what's the matter? And he said, Nigel, 3 days before this event, I found out that the mother of my child has got stage 4 cancer and she's going to die in 6 months. And obviously my reaction was, firstly, are you okay? And secondly, why on earth did you come to this event? And then he proceeded to tell me that he didn't know what to do. Just like me, he was desperate. And he followed his intuition and came out to this event. The reason he wanted to speak to me was to thank me. Because 30 minutes prior to that conversation, he was in his room crying. Because being around these people, all of these people that I brought together through my story, had given him the strength to keep fighting. And that moment gave me so much conviction in what I'm doing. But the story doesn't even end there. So 3 months later, after the event, again, this is a few months ago, I found myself in a pretty bad place again. So I'd found a business partner to help these entrepreneurs because I couldn't handle all the demand myself. And he decided to leave me, which left me in a bit of a mess. And in that moment, this guy who I'd met at the event, he reached out to me and said, Nigel, that event was so transformational, that community you're building, we need to keep it going, and I will help you. And it was just the timing of that message. It was just when I needed it. And he said to me, this whole idea you've got about building this brand called Undeniable from when you were doing those runs, don't wait. You've already got the community, you've got the people. Do it now, and then we'll figure out how to make it a bigger brand to inspire millions of people down the road. So one thing led to another, and now that guy, I'm proud to say, is our head of operations, and he's part of Undeniable, the business, and we officially launched our community for entrepreneurs 3 months ago at the time recording. We have already had 70 people join, and the stories we're getting is like nothing I've ever seen. And guess what? It's all about getting entrepreneurs to believe in themselves. So if you lack self-belief, if you've been looking for a secret, a moment of awakening, know that this is your moment. The reason I share my story and the pain that I had to go through is to inspire people like you, because there's so many people suffering out there. And I want to let you know that no matter how much you're suffering or how hard it's getting, that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. But Playing the victim will not help you. I tried it. It nearly took my life, and I know it's hard. But you've got to build momentum somehow. You've got to firstly believe in yourself. And secondly, you've got to open up and you've got to find people who will back you when the chips are down. These are the only two things you need to be successful in life. Whether it's starting a family, whether it's starting a business, whether it's traveling, whatever it might be, your dreams are on the other side of these two things. And it was in these moments that I found my favourite quotes ever, and they're both from Winston Churchill. Firstly, one man or woman with conviction will overwhelm 100 who have only opinions. That's about self-belief, even when no one else will believe in you. And secondly, measure your relationships by how they show up in bad weather. They're the kind of people that you want in your life. And if you have that unwavering conviction, that belief in yourself, that no matter how long it takes and no matter how hard it's going to be to achieve your dreams, then you are undeniable. And that's the mindset you need to succeed. And you will, when you start taking actions in line with your new identity, just like I did, you will find people that are attracted to you. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one single step. That step is today. Now it's your time.